Blah, 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 blah.
Welcome back to Just a Few More Minutes podcast, where three veterans of the animation and video game industry talk about exactly that. Animation and video games. I am one of your hosts. I am Jeff Gabor. I am an animator at Blue Sky Studios.
I am Michael Berardini. I am also an animator at Blue Sky Studios. Look at that.
I am Pete Paquette. I am an animator, and I work for myself.
Hell yeah, you do.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I want to do that too.
Yeah. So this is our first podcast post-baby watch. Yeah. So I did have my son, Quentin.
Congratulations.
Quentin Robert Gabor. So that happened.
Also known as Qbert.
Right, Qbert.
You call him Qbert?
No, but somebody pointed that out as they thought it was something I kind of slipped past the goalie there as a name.
Oh.
But no, it's...
Well, he's not that smart.
That's exactly... I didn't put that together. But it's pretty cool.
That's brilliant, actually, if that was true.
I know. If I had actually thought of that, I'd be like, oh, that's pretty good. We actually just call him Q. Or Quinn, but nobody
Baby
calls
Q.
That's
cute.
But a lot of news has happened since our last podcast. A lot of good stuff.
Oh, really? Like what? Tell me more. I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, well, let's just go. Well, let's start the way every podcast starts, with an animation tip. I still need a theme song. Jeff Ward's animation tip of the week.
Dun-dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun-dun. It's just the animation tip. It's just the tip.
All right, I'll use that, and then he'll produce it later, probably.
Sprinkle in some music, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just do that during this episode.
Yeah, you preoccupy yourself. All right, so the tip I have this week is about plussing yourself. Yeah. So I think a lot of animators naturally end up starting to do this through their career, but I don't think we formally talked about it. But see if you guys do this as well. So poses, I think, are king, right?
Yes.
Some animators don't necessarily focus on the poses. That's not the tip, but they should. So in order to get the best pose possible, I find the best way to do it is make your initial pose and then don't give up and go to the next pose and start breaking it down and tweening. Try to plush yourself constantly. So I build my pose and then I go to the next frame right over and then just start tweaking it, almost like rebuilding the pose again and seeing if it gets better, and pushing small things. So maybe the eyes get a little bigger, or their smile goes over here, or maybe you change the silhouette of the spine or whatever. And you basically toggle back and forth and say, is it better or worse? And you do the whole, it's like an eye test. And then you find out exactly what is better and then do it again. And I feel like usually by the third time you find the best version of the pose you can, just by constantly trying to top yourself.
Yep. Yeah. I do that with my hand-drawn art as well as my animation a lot, because I'll just draw a really quick, rough thumbnail, and then in Procreate or Photoshop, I'll just use the warp tool to push and pull it to find a stronger line of action or something. And it's the same principle for animation.
It's so good. I love Procreate's options for that, for just plushing your overall drawing.
Yep.
For me, I tend to actually puke everything out that's in my mind. And then once I'm done doing that, then I'll go back and iterate on a more micro level. I'm always flipping back and forth and checking one pose to the next and making sure that they're both are working and look good and shit from whatever camera angle it's at.
Yeah, I feel like it's something I didn't realize until after supervising, of how many people actually get all their poses done before really stopping to focus on just the storytelling poses. And I feel like everybody could serve themselves really well, looking back at the fundamentals of your storytelling poses, those 2 or 3, 4 poses that sell your entire shot, and focus on those poses and plus them and plus them and plus them, and everything becomes easier after that.
I will say,
it's a good tip.
It's a great tip. It doesn't always apply to everything, though, because I am a pose-heavy animator, but on a current shot I'm working on, I've probably had to work as rough as I've ever had to work before, and I had to actually turn my brain away from the the heavy posing because the camera's moving so intensely. I'm basically having to splok it all. And like there are still key poses in there, but it's mostly just like sliding through. So I guess it sort of still relates.
Yeah, no, it's a good point because when you do have heavy action stuff or something's like really heavy into like mechanics or stuff, I do think like that's when our old tip starts to apply, where you like turn things back into spheres or just primitives and animate it that way, and you start to work really, really loosely, and you're strengthening your storytelling poses comes much later. So sometimes things get out of order. But I think both things still apply it just at different times.
Yep. That shot I'm working on, I did start with spheres to figure everything out, and now I'm just getting the characters in, but then eventually I will go back in and put in the strong poses in there. But it'll just be a weird workflow for me that I don't like.
You know what's a fun fact? I don't know if our audience would even remotely care, but you and I have been on the same movie for the past 3 years.
Yeah.
You and I haven't worked together in over a year.
Yeah.
Or at least about that now.
That's
crazy. It's been a while.
Yeah.
I mean, my first shots were with you, and then never again.
That's right.
Guess you don't like me that much.
Who's the other supervisors?
On Spies in Disguise, it's Jeremy Lazar and Joe Antonuccio.
Oh.
So Jeremy Lazar has a history of being working on Harry Potter, and Joe Antonuccio has basically spent most of his career, or all of his career, as an animator at Blue Sky.
Yeah.
And Jeremy worked on Where the Wild Things Are with Spike Jonze.
That's true, too.
Which is
That's
fucking cool.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, very underrated.
Yep.
Has a really cool feel.
Yeah. So wonderfully morose.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's get into it right now. What's the theme that you sort of want with your musical intro to the animation tip? Is it this? Let me try something else for you. That was Cosmic Teardrops. How about a soundscape called Low Earth Orbit? Let's find out what that tip.
Let's do that. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
It's just a tip.
All right, yeah, go there.
That's
Keep going.
creepy as
Keep
shit.
going.
All right. We found the soundscape. We'll build upon that. We'll check back in every once in a while this episode to watch how this song grows.
Great. So the other part we're going to talk about on this episode is we're going to actually talk about some of our failures. Not every single animation that we've done is spectacular, and I think a lot of what we don't talk about is we've learned from our mistakes and our failures, and that's the way we've grown as animators, is you've kind of seen everything possibly go wrong, and you've learned from it, and that comes across as later it comes across as just being skilled, but it has a lot to do with just seeing every single mistake and learning from it. So I figured we could go through that and share in some of the wealth that we've learned personally by failing.
Yeah.
We're totally prepared. I'm totally prepared for that.
Before that, there's a couple cool things that have happened in the video game world since our last conversation. So Nintendo Direct came out. Was it an official Nintendo Direct? I think it was, right?
Yeah.
And it announced a crap ton of news, one of which validated my prediction of a game I was most looking forward to in 2019.
That's right. I swear you had some insider information or something. Because when I saw that, I was like, you got to be shitting me.
Yeah.
Like, how the hell did he know?
So our last episode, I said one of the games I'm most looking forward to in 2019 is Mario Maker. And sure enough, a couple weeks later, Nintendo announced Mario Maker 2 for the Switch.
Blammo.
Wow.
You've been sleeping with Reggie, and then you made him quit Nintendo.
Quit Nintendo and give it to some guy named Bowser.
His body was ready, but not ready for Jeff.
I wish I could follow any of what you just said.
So yeah, Mario Maker.
Yeah.
Are you excited for that?
I am. I'm really excited for that. I like the idea that you can kind of like make your own video game with a toolkit. I don't know. It looks fun to me.
It's really intuitive too. Like anybody could pick it up and start playing it.
It was the final missing piece of like saying, "Wow, you absolutely never did need a Wii U." So great. I didn't miss anything.
No, you didn't. Mine doesn't even work anymore. So.
Well, the Wii U had the eShop or whatever it was. They had lots of good shit there. You can't get any more. That's cool.
Yeah.
But the Wii had that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but fuck the Wii.
But that whole situation brings up a lot of interesting, like, things to actually talk about, which is like, do you really own digital games? Because a lot of people weren't able to get their games before it shut down. And once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, and there was an instance about a month ago. You and I. Remember, you hopped on Xbox and we were going to actually play some games together. And we were playing Castle Crashers.
Yep.
And then all of Xbox Live went down. And this was I think it was the time that people were really hyped up on Red Dead. And people that had bought physical copies of Red Dead were still not able to play their games because it still needed to access Xbox Live to even initialize the game. So it's like, what games do you really own? Even the hard copies are locked out if you don't have a connection.
That's true.
It's weird.
You fucked either way.
Which makes the whole games as a service thing make a lot more sense.
Right. But on the positive side, a game that came out for Nintendo's online service that was free, I mean, of course you have to pay for the online service, is Tetris 99. Did you guys get to play that?
I haven't played it yet. But
I refuse to play for Nintendo Online. So that's how that goes.
Well, I'll talk about it.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Good.
So I've been playing it.
Is it fun?
It's freaking awesome.
It's fun?
It's awesome. It's take Tetris and smash it with Fortnite.
No, smash it with Apex.
Okay, Apex. But it's Battle Royale Tetris. It's you versus 98 other people in a battle of sending lines and sending garbage to 98 other people, and there's one winner. It's so cool.
So how does it figure out where to throw garbage?
So you get to pick. It gives you 4 basic options. So you can choose attackers. So those are people that are actively attacking you, that are focusing on sending garbage to you personally. So you can send it right back to them to try to prevent them. So it's like a defensive play. There's also random. So you just send it to any of the 98 other people. There's badges. So people that have the most current badges. And badges are earned by knocking people out. If you are the one that gets the kill, then you earn a badge. And that ups your ability to send even more garbage per line. So you can focus on those guys, but obviously that's dangerous because you're probably trying to attack the best people. And then there's a mode called KO, or Knockout, which is kind of their version of kills. And it's a little up for debate. I'm sure someone would tweet us right away back. But from what I understand, KO is the people that are most likely to be are the closest to the top of being eliminated. So you can focus on trying to gain badges by picking on people that are about to die.
Sounds pretty awesome.
But then, so you have your like skinny little Tetris window that's right down the center there. Mm-hmm. But then on the sides, all 98 people are represented in little miniature versions, and you can use your touch screen on your Switch to select them and pinpoint an individual to attack. So you can see it. You can see, oh, this guy's about to die. Click on him. Boom, eliminate him. Ooh, this guy's about to die. Click on him. Eliminate him. But all while you're trying to focus on your own game. It
can't
crazy.
Possibly be played at like the high level Tetris is played, because like when you play that, you can't fucking look away at all. How does that even work?
Well, there's some pretty incredible videos showing like winning streaks. Like there's this guy I was watching, I think Wombi or something, 188 win streak, which is incredible. And watching the technique that he uses is quite fascinating. I've never quite seen Tetris played like that. It's cool. It's really cool.
How does he play Tetris?
Well, do you guys know what a T-spin is?
No.
Simmons was talking about it during Extra Life, but I didn't know what he was talking about. I was just like,
Yeah,
I know.
Simmons was, Matt Simmons, the guy that played Tetris during our Extra Life marathon, was, again, bringing it up to me. He's like, T-spins, blah, blah, blah. Well, anyways, you leave a little slot, the T-shaped shape on Tetris. Well, if you can leave a little 2-box window, you can actually slide the T in and then turn it at the last second, and it'll slide in, and it'll make a little squeeze sound. And it just clearing 2 lines with a T-spin counts as a full Tetris, all 4 lines. So the top players stack up multiple T-spins in a row and sends 16 lines over to somebody immediately, and causes KOs constantly, because that's basically you do a handful of T-spins over to one person and they're instantly eliminated.
Damn. Wow. Sounds intense for Tetris.
It is intense. I've only got two full #1 victories, but it was the best feeling of my life.
I mean, a lot of stuff has happened in your life, my friend.
Yeah. It was probably the 2 weeks after my son was born when I first played it, and I was texting with Matt Simmons, and I told him I won, and I said it was the highlight of the year so far. And he says, your son was born 2 weeks ago. Hey, yeah, but still. Yeah. Definitely worth it.
Unrelated, what is that banging? Who is masturbating under the table right now?
Oh, sorry. Finally, you called me on some bullshit.
What were you doing?
I just have my hands on the desk, and I'm just pounding.
Just tapping them.
Being gestural. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
That's all.
Fucking stop it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mikey, I was going to say, I saw a couple of the movies you recommended from last year.
Oh, which ones?
I saw the one with the dad and his daughter.
Hey, so did I.
Leave No Trace.
Leave No Trace.
I did too.
I saw that.
What did you guys think of it?
I liked it. Really good.
I liked the story, and I can't relate to the guy, but I had such a hard time believing he could.
Mm-hmm.
Spoilers.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'll cut that part out, or I'll bleep that part out.
I actually found the actress that played the daughter to be very, very charming.
Yep.
She was really fun to watch, actually. I liked her.
Yeah.
That's why I like unknowns.
Yeah.
Because they're always more real, and sometimes it doesn't work out. Like every time fucking Clint Eastwood casts someone, they're just awful. But other times with a good director, that's a hot take, but I don't like Clint Eastwood. So be it. Go fuck yourself, Mystic River. Gran Torino, get out of town. But yeah, that is the end of that train of thought.
He just took a moment to bash Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
Hey man,
just
we don't podcast that often anymore.
Yeah, we're still keeping up. It's just random.
Yeah.
A little bit more random.
It's been like 1,000 years since our last podcast.
Yeah. Month and a half. Yeah. We did 2 real fast at the beginning of the year, but oh well. Screw it. Okay, moving on. What was our other
Wait. Speaking of Clint Eastwood, just kidding. Speaking of Battle Royale games, Apex Legends came out.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the hotness, boys. You know I don't like first-person shooters that much. You know I don't like multiplayer games that much. But Apex Legends slots right into my hole. I like it so much. It's so fun.
It's so good. Did you read about how they came up with like the queues and stuff?
No. What do you mean queues?
Like when you tag things?
Oh, the ping system?
Yeah. They disabled chat entirely in the game and tried to figure out ways to communicate.
So that's smart.
That's how it went.
Because, I have my small squad of guys that we're playing with, but my schedule doesn't line up with them that often because I actually have a life. That's a dig to you boys if you're listening. But like playing with randos, it's so fucking amazing because you can easily communicate with them without having to actually communicate with them, which is my cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
You need some ammo, you just fucking ping it in your little inventory. You see enemies, you ping them over there. Everyone's on the same page. It's fantastic. There's so many perfect little helpful things in that game that just weren't there for any other battle royale game that I've played before. Like Fortnite never clicked for me, and I think 100% of that was to do with the skill gap between me and the people that knew how to build.
Mm-hmm.
And Apex, it's literally just luck of the draw depending on where you drop and what you get, but other than that it's just pure skill, which is why I don't have that many wins, but it's still fucking fun.
That many, man.
I also really loved like the little tiny thing that they did that was so cool was when you're playing with your 3-man team, you can like choose to like follow the jump leader.
Yep.
It sounds stupid, but sometimes it's hard to coordinate something as simple as fucking falling in the same spot.
Yeah. But now it's gotten to the point where, people have the whole stair step method where they drop. Have you read about that at all?
No.
Mm-mm.
It's basically a way, instead of just like dropping and going straight down or like flying diagonally to your position, there's a way to go down and level out, go down and level out, go down and level out, and it keeps your speed at a higher rate than it normally would. So like even just dropping now with your squad is a super skill-based thing that if you're not good enough, you're going to get killed soon. So it's probably tough for people to jump in now.
I will say that. So you introduced me, you came over to the house and loaded up, and you wanted to see me die really fast playing it on the PlayStation.
You did good your first match.
Right. It's been all downhill since that match. I must have gotten incredibly lucky on that first match, because last Friday I played for 2.5 hours. One. Not one victory.
One what?
One kill. Kill in 2.5 hours.
Holy shit.
I mean, in my lifetime, I think I only have like 40 kills in that game.
Yeah. That game is hard.
It is hard.
You watch like the Twitch streamers and stuff that are amazing at the game, and like the max I've ever seen, and this is a lot, I guess, but I think it was Ninja. I watched him play a match and he had 23 kills, which is like crazy, but an average on most of these streamers that I'm watching, like they're winning championships with like 4, 5, 6 kills.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
So like you're not going to get too many kills, but when you do, it feels good.
The people I feel worst for, I'm sure Fortnite's getting their cut. They're getting cut into, but even worse than that, I wonder how Anthem is a game that came out on the Xbox last week. They're poor guys. Apex hit at the exact wrong time for them.
Yeah. And Anthem, I love BioWare. I love what they do, and I love their work. From what I've seen from Anthem so far, I've been playing it with my son. It feels so much like Destiny.
Yeah, it does look like that.
I mean, that's what they're going for.
It doesn't feel original to me at all. It feels kind of contrived.
I mean, if you recall at all, I had said previously many times that if Destiny were third person and had more of a story, it would be right up my alley. And that's what Anthem is, but it just does not really interest me. So I feel like a pretty big failure on their part, because it's a huge void in my mind that could be filled. And right now the reviews sort of suck, but just like Destiny, I think the reviews sucked when it started out too, and then it got better and better. So in a year's time, I might hop in there, give it a go. But
Yeah.
I will say the flying mechanic's pretty fun. They made that feel really cool. Like you double jump and then you click the stick and then you're flying. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But how do you validate someone paying $60 for that, or they can play Apex for free?
Well, that's a completely valid question. Like what? That's probably the thing that AAA studios are having a hard time deciding on how to move forward, because like this whole free-to-play thing isn't going anywhere. Well, on phones anyway, it's like that's all you see is free-to-play games.
Well, to your point earlier on, you were talking about, like, what do you really own? You don't really own the games anymore, right? So then, as much as you own the game, you own the skins and the dances and all the other junk that you put into the game. That's what you own.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get a free-to-play game, all you're doing is getting a head start on your $60 to put crap into the game.
Yeah.
John Lasseter went to Skydance.
Oh, geez,
animation
that was a poor transition.
Isn't that a controversial move?
I would say so. I would say so. Yeah. I mean, if you're being let go from Pixar for sexual harassment in quite substantial cases, and to the point where like not all the details were even released of how I don't know how substantial the claims were, and then you get picked up by Skydance, it's like who?
Yeah,
it's pretty weird.
It's weird.
And to that point, Emma Thompson, who was going to be a voice in an upcoming film of theirs, basically bowed out because of it.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Right on.
Which is, she was the voice of the mom in Brave, which John Lasseter was a part of. So it's interesting for her to, like, knowing that whole family and knowing John Lasseter was still wanting to make sure she bowed out of that, so... Interesting. And I wonder if there's other people at Skydance that have already or are going to follow suit with that.
Now, do you think they regret this decision and they'll do anything about it? Or they're just going to continue to watch half their fucking studio walk away?
I probably should have looked up the name, but they did hire an executive female that they say is in to try to take some of the heat off of this. But... I don't know. I feel like there's always details of that where it's like on the surface level, it looks like they hired this person to like make themselves look better, but I feel like I can reasonably believe that lady probably got the job on her own, and it wasn't just a matter of trying to make up for John Lasseter. So, other animation news: Dragons 3 came out, Lego Movie 2 came out. And Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, indeed, as predicted, won the Oscar. So,
goddamn straight.
Well deserved. The only other thing I wanted to talk about the Oscars, which just happened last night. What the hell? Why do they gotta shit on animation?
Was that like that whole speech about being a child and? Is that what you're talking about?
There's that, but there's also, like, even the host made a stupid, snarky remark when they were, like, introducing the short film animations. And being like, yay, they gave us one of the big categories. Obviously making reference to this is one of the ones that don't matter.
And it's frustrating because it was John Mulaney, and he was just in Spider-Verse as Spider-Pig or whatever. And it's like, oh... So you were in, like, one of the most revolutionary movies in our industry, and you don't give a shit about it.
Yeah.
Cool. Fuck you.
Wow.
Yep. I was pretty annoyed by that. And then I immediately went on Twitter to see if anybody was reacting to it, and nobody was. And then when I saw your text, Jeff, I was like, oh, shit, somebody actually noticed, too.
Yeah. Well, it's just very disappointing. I don't know what else to say with that. Like, I know they were trying to be self-deprecating with it and make a joke of it, but they did it at the expense of people that were there to celebrate their art form and their stories, and they basically dismissed them as the categories that don't matter.
Yep.
Fuck off.
I'm surprised that the animation categories weren't the ones that were supposedly going to be on the chopping block for the airing of the Oscars.
Oh yeah.
Editing and cinematography. Very glad they put them back in the show, but I don't know. It's all just trash. The Oscars suck. I don't care about that.
Well, they're the train wreck that you can't look away from. Like, I watch it every year, but it's completely unfair. It always has a certain level of social justice behind the winners. Like, they want to make a point about something. So it's right time, right place a lot of times to be the winner. And thankfully that worked out in the favor of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse because it hit on the right topic at the right time and was fantastically done. And the art was amazing. So good on them for executing on every single cylinder that it needed to win the Oscar.
Yep.
Totes.
I'm actually surprised it wasn't included in Best Picture.
Should have been.
Because I remember some Pixar films doing that, and I'd be like, really? And then I was expecting it. I was like, well, they're gonna put this movie in with Best Picture because it's fucking amazing.
Okay, here's another category it should have been nominated for. What better category than production design to be nominated? Do you know not a single animated film has ever been nominated for production design?
Which is stupid because we fucking design blades of grass in our fucking movies.
Yeah, there's nothing you get for free. You design every element of an entire movie, and nobody has ever been nominated? That's fucking insane.
Yeah, because nobody knows anything about our process. That's the problem. People are fucking stupid, and they don't care to be learned about it.
I think it's very easily dismissed as a childish art form, and that's sad. Well, enough about the Oscars, I guess. Let's go on.
No, I want to know what you're about to go off on. You saved yourself from something, but I want it.
Okay.
I want it hard, Jeff.
Let's see. What's his name? I'm totally... Alfonso... how do you say his last name?
Cuarón.
I just liked the one thing in his first speech that he said he grew up loving foreign films like Jaws.
Yeah.
It was such a good subtle jab at the fact that even the term foreign films is pretty much bullshit.
Yeah.
Yep.
If movies are so universal, then just even the term foreign films is quite offensive.
I've also found it ridiculous that at the Oscars, every country can only submit one movie to represent their entire country.
Yeah.
It's just okay.
Yeah.
And then I think I'm sure you guys didn't see it, but there was a movie called The Hunt. It was probably Swedish or Norwegian or something with Mads Mikkelsen, and he played a school teacher, an elementary school teacher that was accused of molesting one of his kids. And that won, but it was that's the movie that you guys chose to represent your whole country?
Right.
Sucks. It's a very good movie.
Yeah, I think the Oscars got some work to do.
They do.
They're so progressive and then yet so far behind on so many things. Whatever. Getting into some of our failures, who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, Pete, let's go.
Yeah, because mine really sucks.
Okay.
So.
Just you wait. Ooh,
Oh yeah, this shot did suck.
Prior to this, I was working as a BG animator on robots, but I was doing animation shots towards the end, helping out with the actual shots. And then they promoted me, and then I went right on to this. And I felt they promoted me. I got to really put my best foot forward to show them that I can do this. And my first pass blocking at this shot, Gallon looked at it. Gallon was our supervisor. he left. He's like, yeah, you're gonna have to redo this entire pose here, this entire pose there, and he's talking about Sid. And coming from robots, I was posing Sid like a human. I hadn't understood how to animate Sid at that point, and I thought I was doing a good job. I was like, oh, this looks kind of cool. Let's move forward. Let's keep doing this. And then Gallon saw it, and he's like, we're gonna put a web page together on how to pose Sid. and he's like, and he emails me. He's like, can I use your blocking to show what not to do?
Oh my god!
And I'm like, it was absolutely devastating for me. But at the same time, I never forgot that you don't pose him like a human, even though he has human controls, because robots were basically skeletons. They were walking skeletons, and this was the first time I animated anything that, like professionally, that had any heft to it. This was a big learning shot for me.
That's cool. I think we both benefited from getting to learn from Sid, because the supervisors were so nitpicky on how to make him look a very specific way that I don't know. It was such a like hard-nosed school of learning that it was like, man, they would not let anything go with Sid. The other characters, they were pretty willy-nilly about, but man, he had to be posed a very, very specific way. And it paid dividends each movie later that I worked on, because you would learn this is the angle the character looks appealing, and you'll do everything you can to keep getting into that spot. And that's all learned from Sid.
Yeah. So that was mine. I only that's the only one, like when it came up, that's the only one that I really remembered being absolutely devastated by.
Yeah. I have shots that I don't have on my computer, probably because I'm so ashamed of them. So this is a second best runner-up that didn't go quite as planned originally, but I mean, it's not as bad as the ones I would have picked, but whatever.
You're not gonna. This is like my favorite shot.
I know, but it didn't go according to plan. So okay,
man, this shot made me think, wow, we gotta hire this guy.
I was already hired.
Oh,
but
this made me think,
shot.
Wow, I should ask if this guy's a temp. So who is this guy?
Context for this shot. I started at Blue Sky on Ice Age 4 as a junior animator, where I spent most of my time animating vines and floating icebergs in the background of shots in the water and stuff. I barely did any actual character animation except for some stuff in the background. They gave me a couple shots at the end, I think probably to test me, and those are the shots that I would have shown had I had that reel here, but I don't, and they were awful, and they definitely did not get me promoted. This shot eventually did get me promoted from Epic, the movie after Ice Age 4, and for whatever reason, they had made me one of the character leads on the Hummingbirds, which is like, cool, I've never been a character lead on anything, but a background horse character essentially doesn't really need a character lead. But anyway, for some reason they gave me this crazy fucking shot. I'll just play it. Can you guys hear it? Doesn't matter, but... Yeah,
we don't, but...
Okay, it's just music. A very folksy guitar. Let me loop it.
You animated all this shit?
Yes. So, a bunch of lessons learned on this shot. And this was like one of, if not the most complicated shot I had ever done in my entire life, and I had no idea how the fuck to achieve it. So, like we were talking earlier, this is a great example of a very complex moving camera that I animated with spheres to start off with. And that was like, it wasn't blocking or anything. It was full on stepped with, I think there's 14 hummingbirds in there by the end, because you have that group and then a secondary group comes in. Maybe it's 12. Doesn't matter. So I had all these orbs and stuff choreographed perfectly. And then I finally showed Wedge, who was the director. And for whatever reason, he just didn't like the way some of them were moving, and it was an entire reblock. And that was sort of the first time I ever dealt with having to redo an entire shot and spending like weeks on it before showing anything, because I felt like it all had to be good, even though they were just spheres. I was building in squash and stretch on the spheres and like suggesting all of this hummingbird activity left and right and all that shit. And, you know, he just felt like I had too much hummingbird stuff in the beginning here when we're flying behind them, and he felt like it was too playful, and that like broke my heart and it destroyed me, and I had nightmares, and then I broke out in cold sweats at work, which actually happened a lot back in the early days. But anyway, I eventually redid this, got the spheres all achieved, and then it was a matter of just adding everything in. But this was also when I was a young boy, and I felt like I had to get fucking everything precisely right. So I remember specifically, you can't see my cursor or my finger.
But, yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can.
Well, I meant my finger. I was pointing at the screen. You can't see that. But like I was putting in secondary action on the what are these called? Not straddles, not saddles, stirrups. The stirrups, and doing all this extra bit of business and like doing stuff on the guys in the background that everyone was like, you don't have to do that. It's going to be motion blurred to shit. You're barely going to see anything. But I did so much detail on fucking everything. I'm sure this guy back here, his face was animated and doing all sorts of shit. And it's like, you're never going to see his face at all. What are you, stupid? And I don't know, man. This was a really tricky shot, and I put way too much into it. And I look at it now and it's like, oh, there's just a bunch of motion blur and some birds.
I will say the motion blur was turned up so high on that movie.
Yeah.
That brings up an interesting point, though. Like, for some reason, early on in your career, tends to be like a super stressful time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember on Ice Age 2, working on Ice Age 2, waking up every night at 2 a.m. every night. And I couldn't go back to sleep.
Yeah.
Just like what Mikey was just saying, with like how he had cold sweats at work and stuff. And
yeah,
if you're a young animator listening to this, it's your health is more important. and I've never really met a production manager say otherwise.
Yeah, no, but it feels like it's something that you just have to go through at your first film. Like, it's just gonna happen. I worry about the animator that is completely like, hey, my first movie, I don't give a fuck. I'll be fine. Like,
I don't mean that, you asshole.
But I had the same thing on Ice Age 2, that I would wake up so early in the morning that I eventually just gave up, and I would start going to bed at 8 o'clock, 8:30 at night, and then I would be on my drive to work by 3:30 in the morning.
What the fuck?
I couldn't sleep. I was so nervous and so scatterbrained that I had to just get there. I was like, fuck it, gotta go.
Yeah, that all sounds very familiar.
I remember it hitting lunchtime, and I'd be like, wow, this is lunchtime for people, but for me, I've already put in an entire day's work, and I'm still here.
You're crazy, man. That's where I remember early.
Me and we do those early Horton days.
Yeah.
And I remember Tom Seville being on the couch in the animation department, like sleeping, like he never went home.
Yep.
Yeah. It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I've never stayed overnight at work. That's a bridge too far.
Yeah.
Won't do it.
I've never done that as well. That is too far for me.
The closest I ever did was, I want to say 2 a.m.
I've probably done 2. Back when I was a noob and nervous about everything. Yeah. Like, I cannot understate how nervous I would get when just something minuscule went wrong and I didn't know how to fix it. I'm just one of those assholes that like refuses to get help and just has to figure it out on my own. But then it stresses me out so much that I don't know what's wrong with it. And then I seriously, like, my back just gets fucking moist as all sin. God, I remember that. I hated it. But I loved it.
Oof. I do not want to ever go back to those times. Like, I know I was learning a lot, but that feeling is awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So new animators, I wonder if stick with it.
I wonder if it's just...
It's better.
I wonder if it's just a product of working or having a career like you really care about.
Yeah.
If it's a product of that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like all of us, we wanted to be animators for a long time before we were ever actually animators. And once you finally get there, it's like, oh, I got to actually earn this for others and for myself to actually quantify my whole career path, my life choices.
Yep. So, Jeff, spill your guts.
Okay, cool. I'll move on to, I'll talk about Horton since we were on that topic. So I was looking back, and this is just a shot that overall, like, I feel like I learned a lot of small itty-bitty things, and the first thing that came to mind, and it's funny that you chose Gallon, Pete, because I chose this also because of Gallon. Gallon looked at this shot, and he just felt the posing was incredibly weak, and he stayed late one night to open up my Maya file and redo a couple of the poses. And it was so informative, and I was actually so grateful because I ended up learning so much, and the evidence of his work is still in here. So here on the top right, you'll see my initial pose of the mayor yelling from Horton. And Gallon overnight did this pose, where he opened up the skull mover, went way back, and emphasized the inhale of the breath, rotated his hands so you could clearly see the pain of each one of the fingers. And you can just see from the blocking to the splining pose how so much better and appealing this pose is. And it was so eye-opening. And it was also crushing. It's like, how did I not see that? How did I not see that this pose was so overcomplicated with this other hand in the way, that I wasn't staging for the broken hand, that the expression wasn't pushed. I just let the rig give me what it could give, and I didn't like take the opportunity to actually continue to push it. And like from on then, I was like, you get the best illustrated drawing you absolutely can out of your 3D rig, no matter what. And that's just it. It's just no matter what. And I feel like, I don't know. There's that part of it, and then there was the storytelling aspect, which never got solved, which is this one shot had to do too much. I'll play it again. So it's a little hard to tell what's even going on if you haven't seen the film, but the mayor actually had his arm pumped full of whatever it's called, Novocaine.
Novocaine.
Yeah. Yeah, so his arm was dead and he couldn't feel it. So it was like going through the town. He was slapping people in the faces, which was your great shot, Pete. But they needed the next shot, his arm was fixed and we had already animated it. So they inserted this shot that was supposed to solve how did his arm get fixed. So in a single, like 30, whatever this frame, whatever it is, how many frames is it? I guess it's about 7 seconds. 7 times 24, whatever. It's just over 200 frames. So in this 7 seconds, I had to solve that problem. And so I had to do this thing where he like shakes the hand, and I was like, okay, he's going to throw it against the wall. And then he gets, for some reason, he goes into this extreme pain, and then he realizes, oh, I fixed it. That's so many different thoughts all to put into and jam into one shot. And if I were to be able to do it again, I would recognize you're doing too much. Like, too many ideas in one shot. The whole point is, like, fix the hand. That's the whole storytelling, fix the hand. So just to simplify this whole idea, it would have been so much better if he just got frustrated that his hand is still limp, throw it against the wall, hear a bone-cracking sound to fix it, and move on. That's all it had to be. He didn't have to like be in pain. He didn't have to go through this funny recognition of, oh my God, it worked. Because at that point, it should be he got an idea, he executed it, he moved on. He shouldn't be shocked by his own idea. It was his idea. So there's a lot of just even storytelling that doesn't make any sense in this shot. And it was by far my least successful shot in the entire movie because it didn't work on any level. The initial poses were poor, and I needed substantial help from the supervisors to get there. And then the execution of the storytelling never got there, and it ended up just being a failure, and we were out of time, and it had to go in the movie. So I feel like in retrospect, looking back on it, learning all those lessons, I've tried to apply those to future shots and trying to execute. Like several of the supervisors or leads back then constantly reiterated the idea of overlapping ideas. Rather than having so many beats layered on top of each other of like, all right, he's going to, in this case, he's going to stop and he's going to like do this little wiggle thing. That's one idea. Then he's going to throw it into the wall, and then he's going to be in pain, and then he's going to like recover, and then he's going to like recognizes that his hand's fixed, and then he's going to leave. Blend those ideas together. See how many things you can accomplish all together, so you can just tell the most efficient story as possible. There's no benefit of separating the different beats, especially if they don't get a laugh individually or they don't make the story any better. So just move on, overlap it, get it over with. Move on to the stuff that's actually people want to see in the movie.
That's why you're a soup now, Jeffrey.
You know what? You reminded me of something. Talking about Horton and stuff.
Yeah.
You reminded me of a shot that I absolutely despised working on.
Getting out of the pool.
Nope.
Okay, damn. Nope. I was just taking a guess.
I loved that shot. I loved working on that shot. And that was a hellish experience.
Oh, wait. All right, let me take another guess.
Yeah, okay.
Fly City.
Yes, you are absolutely correct. That was the stupidest fucking thing. And I remember asking Jimmy, like, why is this? Why am I doing this? Like, he's like, yeah, except for they added that at the end or something because they wanted to add more. They wanted to make Morton more of a character. They wanted to make him more funny. So like the line was basically Morton says, Horton wouldn't hurt a fly except for that fly city he sat on, but he didn't do that on purpose. So I had to animate that except for the fly city that he sat on in a shot, and I was just like, can we just cut this? Like, is this really necessary? It completely isn't funny.
No, it's not funny, and I think what you're about to say is like it undercuts the entire character. Now you went from this guy that is so innocent and so lovable and would never hurt a fly, and now you're saying he committed genocide.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that was a horrible line.
I hated that. There were a lot of shitty lines in Horton.
A lot.
The other shot I hated on Horton, it's good. That was the worst. Do you remember that?
Yeah. What was the joke that Morton did where he was talking about like getting high? God, what was that? There was another stupid...
I think they cut that out.
Oh, really?
I think there's like a whole sequence cut out. That was finished animation, it was lit and everything, and they cut it.
Wait, you guys. I just came up with a great idea.
Yeah.
We should just make a Horton Hears a Who podcast.
What an asshole.
Because you guys only talk about it every episode.
I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding. Keep going.
No. I'm self-conscious about it and everything, you know.
Hey, do you guys want some bonus content for one of my least favorite shots I've ever done in my career since we're talking about that?
Yeah, let's go.
All right.
What movie is this?
This character is named Fernando. And he's from the film Rio. Okay, context for this shot and this whole sequence. There was a group of animators that were prevising, in air quotes, the climactic ring third act stuff in Ferdinand, and a bunch of us were tasked with like specific shots, but also we could sort of figure it out on our own to try to make it as good as possible, but stay within the confines of the direction, etc. And I had the chunk of shots when Ferdinand comes out of the bullpen into the ring and sees El Primero for the first time. And basically my kickoff for this shot was like a gladiator style entrance, which was difficult for a lot of reasons. I'll just play it. Now, first of all, as you watch this, remember Michael the animator hates doing acting and thought process and stuff. Now also remember Michael is an animator and not a layout artist. And then I had to do this camera and do everything myself, and it was very tricky. And the hardest part about this shot was the fact that it was basically I did layout for it. Oh, and that's the other thing. They told us, like, we're basically going to pre-visit, but you're not going to animate the shots because we're going to give those away later to more animators so we can get it done quicker and crap like that. But lo and behold, we ended up just having to animate it ourselves. So basically, I was inheriting my own layout animation that then I was trying to turn into like polished animation. So basically, when I look at this shot, I see a polished piece of shit. So,
oh man,
that's how I feel about that one.
Mikey, have you been playing anything good lately?
Aside from Apex, I actually just replayed The Last of Us.
Oh, nice. Getting prepared for the... when does the sequel come out?
I don't even know if there's a date attached to it yet. Hopefully this year. I don't know. But my buddy Benjamin started playing it, decided he didn't really care for it, and stopped playing it. And I was like, oh, well, I got to see if it holds up. I think it definitely still holds up. It's good shit.
I thought I was going to get a text from you yesterday because I downloaded the update and fired it up.
What, Last of Us?
That's right.
Really?
I was like, he's going to text me any second. I know he's going to see me playing this. He's going to text me.
Yeah, man. I'm checking my friends list minutely. What is that word to check something every minute? Is there a word for that? There's
I don't think there is a word. Minutely, like you just said, right?
Often?
That's not specific enough.
Momently isn't a word, no. That's a good question.
Momentarily or something, but I don't know.
You found a hole in the King's English.
Dude, fuck the king. Anyway, sorry. I derailed it again.
That's all right. No, but that was our podcast. That was what we had to talk about this week. This month. So we'll be back in a month. Is there anything else you guys want to close it out with?
I'll be at PAX East.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that.
March 28th and March 31st. So, if you're in the area, you probably won't be able to find me. There's just so many damn people at PAX East. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Cool, man. Yeah, let us know how it is. I mean, I got to get there. There's no way I'll be able to go this year, but I definitely want to go to PAX East. That looks so awesome.
Where is it? Boston?
Yep. It's in at the convention center. It's a big fucking building. So anyway, it starts March 28th and it goes from that Thursday the 28th to March the 31st.
Cool.
So
bring back all the goodies from it, Petrie.
Yeah, I'll at least bring back some. I tend to stay away from like the big name booths because the lines are insane and stupid. Like, I remember they were like capping them off at like 2-3 hours at one point. I was just like,
jeez,
nah, that's just not for me. So I usually go to the indie section, and I'll just stop and play different games. I mean, like the longest one I played was Below. I waited like a half hour to play that. So, but that was literally like the only one that really had a line.
I still gotta play that.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I only played it once.
Since I got you guys on the podcast, have any of you guys played Gris?
I heard it's fantastic. Is it?
It looks awesome.
Yeah. I haven't played it.
Damn it! I gotta play it. It looks so cool.
It does.
Yep. Yeah, it looks like a work of art, interactive work of art.
Yeah.
It's quite beautiful.
All right, everybody. So this has been a good podcast. Hopefully everybody learned from our mistakes, and we will catch you in 1 month. This has been Just a Few More Minutes podcast. We're 3 veterans of the animation and video game industry talking about exactly that, animation video games. Michael and I will most likely be Disney animators in a month. See you guys when we're Disney.
All right.
My dreams are coming true.
Good luck, you guys.
Peace.
Later.